as you know, the Orions has been a portal, or there still is a portal between Earth and the Orion. Orion is a star system, so there are several stars in the Orion belt, and they all have a portal directly to your planet, Gaia. And it has been so since the beginning. And it all comes about when this planet was decided to become a sentient being and have been able to have a population on this planet. There are planets in our universe, even in your solar galaxy, that do not have a population, a planet that is not a sentient being. So when it was decided for the Earth, Gaia, let's call it the Earth at this time, to become a sentient being and being populated with beings, there was a process that needed to happen for this to take place. First, it has to be decided what kind of population would you have on this planet. Every planet has their own way of living. Some are very heavy on some minerals, some are very heavy on oxygen, others have different kind of minerals or gases in the atmosphere, so their body have to be different. The atmosphere that you are having on this earth at the time was one of the, let's call it the rarest one. There was not that many opportunities to create a life with an atmosphere that you had. So it was decided to create this atmosphere. And to create this atmosphere, there were several things that had to happen to the planet. We needed to creating a lot of volcanoes, earthquake, tumultuous on the planet to create an atmosphere that was around the planet, a sky and clouds around the planet, so we could create a lot of rain, a lot of water, and all of this atmosphere that you are having of H2O and the oxygen that you are having here. So that had to be created first. After that, they were beginning to create bacteria and aminos in your waters for those to begin to grow, get onto land, and begin to create a world where beings could be created. All of that was a process that took millions of years to create. And it was decided from that beginning on that the Orions was the one who was in charge of creating Earth so this population could be placed on your planet. So the Orions was the one who created the atmospheres, created the volcanoes, earthquakes, everything, ice ages, and just created a way so this form of life could happen on this planet. After millions of years, the planet was now ready. There were now forests, there were grass, and there were different kind of animals that was beginning to take place in your planet, on your planet. And it was now time to begin to create the beings that have to be on this planet. And as well as you know, there were several different kinds of beings. We could take beings that was from this planet and this planet, make them together and fit them onto this planet. But usually we always start from scratch. What kind of being could be on this planet? What could survive? So in cooperation with the Galactic Federation and the Orions, all of this was beginning to take place. And we tried 6 different beings, one after the other, revamping them, changing their DNA, changing how they look, changes the way they were thinking, till we finally came to the Homo sapiens, to be part of the final part where we felt we were having a race that could be long-term on this planet. And thousands and thousands of years before that happened, they were now going, let's say, and message out to the universe of souls who were interested in becoming part of the experiments that was Gaia, the Earth. And why thousands of years? It is not like you're calling out for population of a planet and you're saying, hey, next week we would like to have 2,000 people going down and populate this planet. This is a long-term process. For each soul have to finish up what they are doing, finding out how they was fit into their plan to become part of this experiment. So after thousands of years, we're finally beginning to getting souls who were willing to be the first ones that came down. And then that didn't work. We created a new human beings who were populated by souls. And we tried again, and that didn't work. They just couldn't survive. There wasn't enough intuition to find out how they could bring themselves forward. So they pretty much either killed themselves in anger or they were killed by animals, and they didn't have the foreseeing of, don't go on this path, because if you go here, you will be killed by a big animal. They were just like, they forgot about it and kept going they were just not smart enough, let's say that, to become, to sustain their life until we finally came to the Homo sapiens, and they had the smarts they had, and at the same time, the early Homo sapiens were still connected to the fifth dimension. They still had the realizations of who they really were. The first five races did not. And we were having the last two races were having a connection back home to give them that extra help they needed to really start a new planet. Again, you have to remember there was nothing here. They had to create everything from scratch. Have to find out what you can eat, where you can stay, what climate works the best, what trees are good to do something with and other trees are bad for something else. All of that they have to figure out. So they needed the extra help from the other side to balance all of that knowledge. And that's where the Moria and Atlantis came in. This was really the first big populations, communities that were created on Earth. There were many communities before that, but they did not have the knowledge that finally beginning to happen on those two, the Moria and Atlantis. When Lemuria and Atlantis finally went away, because in the experiments of those two communities, we found that it was just not really what we wanted. We wanted to be able to live on Earth and not remember where you came from. Not have contact with the fifth dimension. Not have all kind of beings from all other kind of planets coming in and beginning to interfere with your process. So that was part of the reason that these two communities have to go away. There were many other reasons, but that was one of the reasons we did not see it as a huge loss for the Earth, that these two communities did not survive. Many of the beings that were on these two communities survived. There were many of beings who were told where to go and how to protect themselves from what was going to happen to the Earth at that time. Hence the story about Noah's Ark, who was told to build a ship, and that is a metaphor of people on this planet was being told that catastrophes was going to happen and that they had to create places where they could survive a very rough conditions that would be on top of the planet at that time, in those hundreds of years that would happen. And when finally that began away, they came back and they started all over again to the life that you are having today. So the Orions, we the Orions has always been with you. We the Orions were the one who were telling many of the beings that were willing to listen to us to find places on this planet where they could survive these disasters. And we, the Orions, on this day are still very much connected to your planet. Even though we are more different from you than, let's say, the Pleiadians are. So the Pleiadians would probably be, or will be the ones who will bring you over. But as soon as you have become familiar with the Pleiades and the others who looks like you, and understand that there is a community out there that is here to help you, to guide you into what you can call the golden age, an age where you really are transforming yourself into the fifth dimension. When you're getting there, you will be introduced to the Orions. And we will begin to teach you about your history. Because there were many things that the people or the communities called Lemuria and Atlantis. They had a knowledge. And even those after that, they had a knowledge that you have completely forgot. They could create enormous structures with your thoughts. They had a communion with the nature. They had an understanding on how to modify energies so they could work with the energies to create whatever they needed it to create. Knowledge that you now need to slowly get back. And there is now a push that there has never been before of understanding that there is a knowledge way back that is much stronger, much more powerful than the knowledge that you are believing that you are having today. And that is a big ask for a community as yours, who has for thousands and thousands and thousands of years believed in one way to create things, create a community, how to build buildings, how to heal yourself, how to interact with yourself, was built on a premise that is really not in your best interest. And now you have to let go of all of that knowledge to bring in the knowledge that you were having 10,000 years ago. So when you are being told to find yourself, to find your next step, raise your vibrations, really what we are asking you is to remember who you were thousands and thousands of years ago, where you could build these castles, where you could heal yourself with a tiny little plant or a little rock, or with just your thoughts. This is where you are going. This is the knowledge that you are seeking. To become one with nature, become one with yourself, and become one with the community that is called Gaia, the earth. We, the Orions, have a great love for Gaia, the earth, and the population that is on it. In many ways, to say something that you may understand, you feel you are our children. And yet, many of you are not Orions. Many of you have never been on Orion. You have been all other places. But you are still our children. You are still very dear to us. And we understand the times, many times, is not feeling like it's going your way. That is not going toward the light. That is not going toward a place where you feel you can get to the next level, where you can be safe. But remember, it is not about feeling safe from the outside. It's about feeling safe from the inside. As long as you can feel safe on the inside, feel completely aligned with yourself, whatever happens on the outside is irrelevant for you, because it's not part of your reality. It's not part of what is going on, because you are fully connected to yourself. And that what it means to be an Orion or a Pleiadian or one from Sirius or Arcturia or any of the other millions of other star communities in this universe. We wish you welcome. And we look very much forward to become an open community again. If you have questions, we are ready.
You said you had portals even now. Where are these portals?
They are in plain sight, even though that you can't see them. It is a question that many of you have. Where are the portals? Where can we go to see them? The portals are not for you yet. You are not ready to take these portals. That is not in your destiny for now. Your destiny is to find yourself, to find that wisdom, to find that inner peace within you.
There's much chaos around our country and the world. And by going within and get centered to who we are, will that chaos not affect us?
No. See, the more people who goes within and finding themselves, finding the alignment with themselves, the less chaos there will be. Because there can't be chaos in something when no chaos is existing. The chaos is really the last part of the beginning energies of your world. Your world has moved so much forward into the fifth dimension or fourth dimension that most of you are living in the beginning of the fourth dimension, or your reality is there. Your chaos is what you are feeling from the last part of the lower third dimension energies that there is on Earth. And because you are up here and the energies are down here, there is a play between those two energies. And these energies will always try to drag you down. And these will try to hold you up. So there is a conflict between those two energies, and that is kind of what you are feeling when you're saying there is a lot of chaos on this planet. The more people who cannot see the chaos, or don't believe in the chaos, or don't feed into the chaos, the less chaos there would be. The chaos only is there because it's being held by your energies. It's being looked at by your energies. Instead of looking down at the chaos, look up to the light. And the chaos can't not survive because these are energies that is not supposed to be here any longer. You are moving away from those energies.
Is it kind of like the lower energies making their last stand to try to hold things down? And it's the light that the beings on the planet that are starting to raise their consciousness and move up.
That is a popular notion of what is going on. These energies, the ones that we can call chaos energies, are not stronger than they were 30 years ago. Why they feel stronger is because you are beginning to raise up higher. So let's say the difference between where you are and the chaos has a bigger gap. Let us look at it this way. You are in a hallway, very, very long hallway, and way out, a mile out, there is a light. And you're going toward it and it becomes lighter and lighter. But if you're turning around, if you turn around from the beginning, it wasn't that dark. But as closer you're getting to the light, every time you turn around, you feel like it's darker behind you. And you turn around and you go toward more the light, and you turn around and the light is, and it feels even darker. And it feels like, oh, the darker is really trying to take me over. You are moving closer to the light, so the chaos or the dark energies feel stronger. But they're not really, they're exactly the same. It is just a different, and you were used to them before because you were right over these energies. Now you are up to here. And when you look back, they look stronger than really what they are.
Okay.
It is really a way, so they're exactly the same. They are not any stronger than they were before. But because you are in a different energy, these energies of you call chaos, you feel it different more.
Okay.
It's like if you were here in this country and you move to another country and you are there for a long time in the and you, it's like a language, and suddenly the other language comes in and you are so far away from it, so this language doesn't feel the same anymore. And so when they're beginning to speak it, it seems like it's, oh, everybody's talking that language, but there aren't really the same amount of people talking the language, that you're not used to it, so it feels extra powerful when you finally hear it. It is just different in where you used to be and where you are now. That makes this looks like, oh, it is in upheaval because I am up here. It is not really. It is the same energies doing the same thing. But you are not used to them as much. You are not, you are focused on going forward, but there are still these energies that is coming up. Or you are being shown, and now you feel like, this is really, why am I seeing this all the time? It must be, it's much worse than it's ever been. You're just further away from them, so they in some way draw you back to where you used to, and you are paying more attention to them because they're so different than what you were used to, because you were used to being in those energies, and now when you are not used to it, so when you're feeling them, you're feeling them much stronger. I don't know if I explained this correct.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds, yeah, I understand. Okay, so getting back to some of our history, say our pyramids and these, Jan and I've watched some of the documentaries on different parts of the world where these huge monuments have been created that even our equipment today couldn't do. Were those created by, some of them created by thought, using their thoughts to manipulate energy?
They were created in communion with your energies, as you know, everything has an energy. So rocks have an energy.
Yes.
They have a life.
Yeah.
And when you can communicate with the energies of the rocks, and you tell the rocks what you would like to create, and the rocks accommodate your creation and saying, we would like to be part of your creations, because in one way, for the rocks, they are just as much of, they're like, oh, we are going to look pretty. This is going to be something that will stand for years and years. Why be a little rock who are laying on the ground if you can be something that is really pretty and stays for hundreds of thousands of years? And they would like to be part of that process. So there is a communion between your energy and their energies, and you're all working together to create what you have imagined you want to create. So it is a communion between all the energies that is in the universe. So it's not like you are going and you are, the people are cutting out the rocks and doing stuff. It is the rocks who are cutting themselves out, shaping the energies. If I was a round rock, and I said, but I need a square rock to fit into this place, this round rock will modify its energies to become a square rock that will fit exactly where you would like it to have, because you are working together on it. And that's why you can find these very intricate walls with no space in between them, because they are, the rocks are forming themselves to each other. They are part of that process and not being used for a process. That's what is happening today. You are cutting out the rocks to place it here. You are measuring it all out. The rocks really have no say in being part of that rock, of that process.
Oh, yes. No, they don't. Some of the archaeologists have found these really elaborate caves that, when they have taken videos of them, are so beautiful and so with the rocks chiseled out and into all these various rooms. Was this when you Orions were telling some of the people, maybe 100 or 2 years before the destruction, that it was going to happen and they needed to find a safe place? And is that when they created these, I call them almost like cities underneath?
Yes. And there are many cities that still haven't been discovered all over your planet.
They were gorgeous in their design and the materials. And so back then, did people live longer than they do today?
No. Some very, very few did, but the majority of people did not. Even though they were having a communion with all other energies on this planet, it was still a very hard life for these souls. Again, the majority of people were not the ones who were building the walls, or building the temples, building all of these buildings, and created all of those very beautiful things that was created. It was a very small population who had the knowledge for those energies.
Mm.
The majority of the souls who were on the planet at the time were still doing manual work, still doing other things. You know, that you still needed to plow the earth and create other things and build things the more manual way. It was not like everybody could create a wall with no seams. That was a very few ones who had that knowledge to do that. So it was a very hard life. You did not have the houses that you are having today that is insulated, who has warmth inside that doesn't pollute. At the time, it was fires that bring warmth into the huts that they were having, which created a lot of smoke in the houses that the bodies couldn't handle even at that time. So it didn't have the same amount of really warm clothes that you were having. And still, winters could still be very cold at that time. So it was a hard life. So we believe the average at that time was around between 33 and 40.
Mm.
But there were some who could live to 70, 80 years old. Let's say the bodies were not built to be here for hundreds and hundreds of years. They were there to do what they would need to do, get out, get back down again, do it again. Because you were still trying to figure out how to survive. And each time you were incarnated into your body, you had a better idea of what energies you needed to bring with you into your body to live longer and to be more prepared for what you were going through. So there was an escalation at that time.
Did the small group who created these pyramids and big monuments, were they able to do it in their lifetime?
Yes.
Okay. So it wasn't something that was passed down to their children.
Some were passed down.
Mm-hmm.
But many of these very long walls or big buildings that you see were created in very short time.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
When you're working together with the energies of your nature, it doesn't really take that long to create a wall that's 100 feet wide and 20 feet tall. That could be done in very short time.
Like the pyramids?
Yes. Or some of the buildings that they created.
Yeah.
It's not hundreds of years to create a building like that. That is really within, you're talking years. And sometimes less than a year to create a very big building. What took the longest time was doing all of the carvings in those buildings if they had carvings.
Yeah.
That took longer than building it in itself. And some of the carvings was, again, created by thought.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you had an idea. They were created at the time because we knew that you would at some point lose the powers that you had at this time.
Yeah.
And we knew that you wanted it to gain that power back, that knowledge back. So beings created all of these for documentation of your knowledge, of their knowledge, and how to do it. Many of your scientists believe they have and can read these hieroglyphs that there are on these walls.
Yes.
But they still don't understand the complete meaning with it. So let's say if you are writing I love person of a name, hundreds of years from now, you are reading this message, I love this person. There are different ways that could be interpreted. That they are in love and they should get married, or they have respect for that person, or many different other interpretation of just that sentence. And that is really what you are having. You are interpreting something, but it's like there are layers in these hieroglyphs, and they are just covering of the first layer. Oh, this is Cyrus seeing this, and this is the gods, and this is this, and this is this, and this is what they did, which was kind of the first layer. And then when you're really going in and beginning to really understand each of these symbols, you will see that it could have a completely different meaning. Again, a story on how to obtain these powers, how to become how to become and find the knowledge of being a person who can communicate with nature and create the same thing as they did. And it will take some time before they're beginning to figure that out, because they need to be on a very close level to where they were to understand the language.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. Thank you for coming and giving us a little bit of insight into our history.